2010 Republican Governors Forum. Over the next hour, candidates will discuss the issues affecting New Mexico. Now, here's our host, Marco Gonzalez.
Hello, and welcome to the 2010 Comcast Spotlight on New Mexico Politics. I'm Marco Gonzalez, and I will be your moderator for today's Republican Gubernatorial Forum. My background includes a long history as a Republican activist. I'm a partner with the Santa Fe-based law firm Modrell Sperling, and I'm also a former congressional candidate. And today, I'm very proud to be a part of such a historic political event. Over the next hour, you, the viewer, will have an opportunity to meet all 5 of our Republican candidates vying for the Republican nomination to run for governor of the great state of New Mexico. The candidates participating in this forum are Pete Domenici Jr., Alan Way, Doug Turner, Doñana County District Attorney Susana Martinez, and State Representative Janice Arnold-Jones. At this time, please allow me to discuss the format and rules of today's forum. First, the questions we will use today were solicited from the political science departments of the University of New Mexico and New Mexico State University. The questions have not been made available to any candidate or campaign prior to being opened and read during this show. The order of the candidates and questions were selected both randomly and before the show. To start the forum, each candidate will be provided 2 minutes for an opening statement in the order that they were randomly selected. After that, I will ask as many questions as time permits in a rotating order, with each candidate given 1 minute to answer the question. I will then go back to the first candidate to answer, and they will have 30 seconds for a final rebuttal. The process rotates to the next candidate receiving the opportunity to answer first, and so on. At the end of the forum, each candidate will be given 2 minutes for a closing statement in the opposite order from the opening statements. Please let me introduce the candidates in the order they will be speaking today. Pete Domenici Jr., Alan Way, Doug Turner, Doñana County District Attorney Susana Martinez, and State Representative Janice Arnold-Jones. Now for the candidates' opening statements. First, Pete Domenici Jr.
Hello. All of us here care for New Mexico deeply, and I'm glad to be here with all the candidates. It's time to clean up Santa Fe. It's time to make New Mexico a business-friendly state and create jobs, and it's time to repair our education system. I've owned my own business for 20 years. I practice law throughout New Mexico for communities, for businesses, and for people on issues involving natural resources, the environment, and water. This experience has given me the opportunity to know New Mexico's communities, cultures, politics, and economics throughout the state of New Mexico. I'm proud to be a native New Mexican. I've raised 4 children in New Mexico. And it's time to end some things. It's time to end one-party rule. One-party rule has led to the ethical and fiscal crisis we have in Santa Fe. It's time to end state corruption. It's time to deflate big government. I'm Pete Domenici Jr. I request your support and your vote, and I look forward to discussing the issues with the candidates that are here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Domenici. Next, Alan Way.
Hi, I'm Alan Way. I'm running for governor to clean up New Mexico and get this economy back to work. I'm not a career politician. I'm a business executive. I'm a retired Marine. I'm a father, 41 years. I'm a grandfather of 4. I'm a husband of 41 years, I'll correct myself. I'm a father of 3 and a grandfather of 4. Those are the life experiences that I'm going to bring to Santa Fe if I'm elected to governor. We absolutely have to end corruption. We absolutely have to get our economy jump-started. Politicians, the single party political class in Santa Fe has contributed to making a bad recession worse, and that's got to end. We've got to fix our education system. And we've got to address the public safety arena, where we badly need some improvements. And we've got to secure our border. We all know the problems. What we need are the solutions. And I provide, in the course of this campaign, solutions that will take us from where we are back to where we can grow our private sector, create jobs, and get our economy and our people back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Next, Doug Turner.
Thank you all for spending an hour out of your day to watch us and watch all the candidates and pay attention to this campaign. You know, our state is broke and it's broken. Our government is failing our families, it's failing our children, and it's failing the businesses that create jobs. How many of you spend time watching the news and shout at the television? Well, I'm one of those people. You know, I've never run for public office before. I'm a father, I have 2 young children, I'm a small business person, and I'm a native New Mexican. And I got in this race for a very simple reason, because I think that the kind of person that we need in Santa Fe is someone who doesn't owe anyone any favors, someone who's not in politics to be in politics for the rest of their lives, someone who is doing the job to do what's right for the people of this state and no other reason. I have no desire for a long-term career in public office. In fact, I think to do this job properly, you're going to need someone who's prepared to get in and probably make a lot of people angry. And I'm perfectly happy to do that. The situation in this state is in dire straits. We have a budget that's bloated and beyond recognition from where it was 7 years ago. We have hundreds of unnecessary state employees, and we have an education system that has been failing our children for years. It's time we had a governor who was concerned about those issues, concerned about slashing the size of state government, fixing public education, eradicating corruption, and once and for all dealing with the challenges that we have at our border. I got into this race, I believe, for the right reasons. The idea is you get involved in public service, you do what's right for the people of New Mexico, and then you get out. And I'm committed to doing that, and I look forward to your support.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Next, Doñana County District Attorney Susana Martinez.
I'm Susana Martinez, and I am married to Chuck Franco and have been married for 18 years. I am the proud stepmother of Carlo, and Carlo has recently served in the United States Navy and the Special Forces. My husband and I also care for my 52-year-old special needs sister after my mother passed away. But I'm also the district attorney of Doñana County, and I was elected in 1996 and have served since 1997. I'm a fighter. I have been the fighter of those who can't fight for themselves. I have fought for children who have been victims of crime, of child abuse and murder. I fight for those who can't fight for themselves, but I also deliver results. As the district attorney, I have been held accountable by those who elect me every year, and that is why I have been elected to 4 terms in a county where Republicans are outnumbered, nearly 3-1, and I have won with as much as 60% of the vote. The taxpayers hold me accountable as the executive of my office. I deliver results, and that is with strong, ethical leadership. And that's what Santa Fe needs. That's what you New Mexicans need, is strong, ethical leadership. We must root out the corruption from every piece of governing that is taking place in our state. Not only from the economic development in our state, but the regulatory process that kills our jobs. We must become more competitive with our surrounding states, or our jobs will continue to leave our state. We must provide a better education for our children so that they want to stay here in New Mexico and work for the small businesses. There will be no greater ally than me, as your governor, for all small businesses in New Mexico. Let's return ethical, strong leadership to New Mexico, which we have been lacking for a very long time. The Richardson-Dennis administration has not provided what we as New Mexicans need, and that's ethics.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. And finally, State Representative Janice Arnold-Jones.
First, thank you to Comcast for this public service. I'm Janice Arnold-Jones. I'm running for governor. And for those of you who don't know me, I am a small business owner, manager, Navy wife. I am a mom, a soccer coach, and a state representative. You know, I have served in your legislature for 4 terms, and I have had a front row seat to the corruption, the lack of ethics, and the impact it has on our state. You know, in 2009, I took a camera into the legislature because without your participation, nothing was going to change. And I am pleased to say that the citizens of the state of New Mexico answered the call and started participating and holding state government accountable. But it is not enough. As your governor, the first priority has to be cleaning up corruption in Santa Fe, because if we don't do that, we won't get anything else done. You know, we have and are able to change the way the state of New Mexico operates, and I intend to change politics as usual to mean that politics as usual means serving the citizens. Politics as usual means that every citizen will feel free to stand up and speak the truth regarding their jobs in state government or any place in state government without fear of losing their jobs or government contracts. And where politics as usual means the state will grow and thrive. We can do all of this, but first and foremost, we have to deal with the corruption. I'm Janice Arnold-Jones. I'm running for governor. We can take these steps forward to help make New Mexico the vibrant, thriving state that it can and should be.
Thank you, Ms. Arnold-Jones. Now let's begin our questions. The first question, order will be Pete Domenici first. What do you believe are the most important issues facing New Mexico?
Thank you for that question. The most important issues are corruption and the economy, and they are tied together, hand in glove in this state. We will not be able to move our economy forward. We will not be able to create jobs. We will not be able to maintain jobs until we get rid of corruption, we get rid of the perception of corruption, we get rid of the extra layer of state government that involves patronage and cronyism. That will allow us to get rid of regulation, become an even-handed, level playing field state for businesses that are already here to expand their businesses, for businesses that are looking for a new place to go, not to pass over New Mexico like they do now, but to look at New Mexico, locate here, and thrive here. If we deal with those 2 issues, we'll move forward.
Thank you, Pete. Now, Alan Wade.
I would agree with Mr. Domenici. Corruption is obviously an issue that's on everybody's minds, and it's got to be fixed. The economy clearly is another. We've got an economy that's sick and made worse by current state policies. But I would add another, and that's the border situation on our southern border, where we have an international border, and that too is an issue that can't be ignored. Those 3 things, as well as education, which is inextricably linked to our economy, are absolutely important.
Thank you, Alan. And now, Doug Turner.
You know, we have the highest unemployment rate in this state in 22 years, and so one of my top priorities is job creation in New Mexico. We have, for far too long, created incentives, at least our legislature and governor have created incentives for large companies, but we seem to ignore the small enterprises that create 85% of the jobs in this country. So creating jobs in New Mexico is one of my top priorities. Slashing the size of state government is another priority. We have a government that's bloated beyond recognition, and we require the taxpayers over and over again to foot the bill, and that is fundamentally wrong. We must have a government that's at least 5,000 people fewer than it is today. And finally, I think we have to take a serious look at public education. We put billions of dollars into public education year after year after year, and yet we don't manage to get any better results. And so I'm committed to fixing public education in this state.
Thank you, Doug. And now, Susana Martinez.
The most important issue is the economic recovery of New Mexico. And the way we do that is by removing and rooting out the corruption that is embedded in every part of our economic decisions, the regulatory decisions, making sure that we are competitive with our surrounding states. Our tax system does not allow us to be competitive. And the Richardson-Dennish administration have actually impeded our economic recovery. We must make sure that our borders are safe as well. We must make sure that those that intend to cross the border and cause us harm are not allowed to enter into our state. We must remove those incentives from New Mexico. But we also must make sure that we provide an education that is quality. We cannot afford to fail another generation of our children. We must root out the waste and the fraud and the political appointments that exist today and make sure we are accountable every day. And you will hold me accountable as governor, and I invite you to do so.
Thank you, Susanna. And now, Janice Arnold-Jones.
It is comforting to know that we all think that the economy, education, and ethics are key for our state. But let's dig into that just a little bit deeper. You know, one of the reasons our state is no longer competitive is because clearly ethics, pay to play, makes it very expensive to do business here. But that lack of ethics actually creates an uncertainty. Do you know how much it's going to cost to start up a business in the state of New Mexico? Coupled with that is regulation. If the regulation is uncertain or implemented in a predatory manner, our businesses cannot compete, and that is what is happening. It is time to make sure that we have a vibrant economy, balanced between government employees and the private sector, and the only way to do that is to clean up how we run government. But let me remind you, if we do not have an educated workforce, if our children are not lifted up and able to compete with the entire world, the economy will not change because our state will not change.
Thank you, candidates. And now Pete Domenici has a 30-second amount of time for rebuttal.
State government needs to take care of the interests of New Mexicans. We need to replace what we have, which is a layer of cronyism and patronage, with an efficient, smaller, predictable, even-handed state government. If we can do that, we will grow our economy and we will be able to diversify our economy and succeed as a state.
Thank you, Mr. Domenici. And now the second question for Alan Wade. Why do you feel you are the best choice to run against the Democratic ticket in the fall?
I am somebody who is a straight shooting kind of guy. And New Mexico and the electorate are hungry for someone who's going to tell them the truth, tell them the facts of life, and then go about the business of fixing things. And it is long overdue. Not being a career politician is a great help to me. I don't intend to run for anything when I'm done being your governor. I intend to go to Santa Fe to govern. I'm not afraid of hard decisions. I know I'm going to have to make hard decisions. I'm up to that task. My life's experiences have prepared me for that. In fact, I've been in a few situations where it's been a little more dangerous than Santa Fe. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And now, Doug Turner.
You know, at one of the, feels like 100 candidate forums we've participated in the last 10 months, someone asked me, what government experience do you have that qualifies you to be governor of New Mexico? And my response was absolutely none. And quite honestly, in today's day, with the corruption, with the abuse of power that's going on in Washington and in Santa Fe, I think that is probably the best qualification. You know, I've never run for public office before. I've never worked for state government. You know, I believe truly in citizen service. I'm a small business person. I built a business from nothing into one of the largest public affairs firms in the Southwest. I've hired people, I've fired people, and I believe that government should and can be run like a business. I have that experience. I'm not interested in the politics, and I'm not interested in my future in politics. I'm just interested in getting the job done, and that's exactly what I'll do when I get to Santa Fe.
Thank you, Doug. And now, Susanna Martinez.
I'm the best candidate to run for governor and defeat Diane Dennish. Number one, because I'm a fighter. I have fought for 24 years for what is right. I have made decisions that are based on the evidence and the facts, and not on politics or wherever the political winds may take me. Actually, I fight hard to make sure that those decisions are the appropriate decisions for the citizens that elect me. I'm not a career politician. I'm a prosecutor, and I fight hard for the people who elect me. I also have fought very hard on the border to make sure that we secure our citizens. I'm an executive of my agency, and every year I balance my budget. I know how to process the work that is given to me and the duty that is given to me by the people, and I take that duty on very seriously. I will fight hard for all New Mexicans to make sure we return New Mexico to the people.
Thank you, Susanna. And now, Janice Arnold-Jones.
The reason that I am the best qualified and most able to take on Diane Dennish is my experience. You know, I have served in the legislature for 8 years, and that certainly doesn't make you a career politician, but what it does give you is an understanding of how government works. You know, government is a bureaucracy, and it is going to fight back, and because I believe in ethics, openness, open meetings, open discussion, honest dialogue, it is going to push back. You need to understand how the government works so that you are able to move the ship of state in a new direction. But there are a couple of other things that make me uniquely qualified. My very diverse background in business, my experience across the world traveling with my husband who served 23 years in the Navy, but most importantly, I work the problem. I have a reputation for working the problem because at the end of the day, we're here to serve the citizens of New Mexico.
Thank you, Janice. And now, Pete Domenici Jr.
I'm the best choice to defeat Diane Dennish and whoever her running mate is because of my widespread knowledge and experience throughout the state of New Mexico. During this campaign, I've developed support in all corners of the state. I've built on the knowledge of communities that I already have. I have strong support from people who know I will put New Mexicans' interests first.
Thank you, Pete. And now, Alan Way will have 30 seconds to rebut.
I'm not going to tell people in New Mexico who's the best candidate. I'm going to let them decide. But I want them to know something about me. I'm good for my word. I've always kept my word. I'm not going to change now at this point in my life. When I tell you I believe something, I'm not telling you because I want you to believe it. I really believe it, and I'll do what I say I'm going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And now for the third question. This question will be to Doug Turner first. What is your opinion of the new Arizona immigration law, and how is your opinion consistent with the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States?
You know, we have real problems at our border. I was meeting with a DEA agent the other day, and I learned that almost all of our violent crime, drug crime that we have in New Mexico right now is coming from illegal Mexican gangs and drug cartels, and we've got to do something to stop it. I think the Arizona law is an important step. However, when I become governor, I would certainly tighten the laws and make some enhancements to protect law enforcement from lawsuits and civil litigation against by civil rights attorneys, and be sure that our state and our border is protected. I would also work with other states to make sure we have consistent policies across the border, and demand that our federal government do what it has failed to do for the last 10 years and clamp down on the illegal immigration and crime that's coming across our border.
Thank you, Doug. And now, Susana Martinez.
My opinion in reference to the Arizona law and the Fourth Amendment and how it impacts the citizens and the people who are in the United States is that we must honor the United States Constitution, always. However, my plan for New Mexico is to make sure that we stop making New Mexico attractive for illegal immigrants to come to this state. And number one, that would be to remove the ability for anyone who is an illegal immigrant to receive a driver's license that will then allow them to travel this country freely. Number two It will be to make sure to get rid of all sanctuary city policies that currently exist that the Richardson-Dennis administration have put in place. And number 3 is to make sure that we do not provide free scholarships to our universities for illegal immigrants just because they've graduated from our high schools. We don't even provide that for our military men and women who are serving in the state of New Mexico. We must make sure our borders are safe so that people feel safe going to school and work every day, and they want to come and create jobs here in New Mexico. We must secure our borders completely.
Thank you, Susanna. And now, Janice Arnold-Jones.
You know, the Arizona law is an interesting step forward, but Ms. Martinez is correct, honoring the Constitution first and foremost. This law actually restated federal law and did a couple of very interesting things that unfortunately we cannot immediately implement in the state of New Mexico because we simply don't have the structure. For example, in New Mexico, illegals and undocumented aliens can get driver's licenses. One of the keys to this law is being able to verify whether or not you are in the country legally. Those structures simply don't exist. But more importantly, I think the governor's job is to make sure the citizens of the state are safe. The threat on the border of New Mexico is amazing, and every day you see going up through Lordsburg, Silver City, and into Espanola, the threat of narco-terrorism and narco-traffic. It is laws like this, implemented fairly and across the board without racial profiling. It's what our citizens need. It is what they're asking for.
Thank you, Janice. And now, Pete Dominici Jr.
Border issues continue to grow with border states. Border problems are becoming more severe. Safety is a growing issue and has grown just in the short few months that I've been in this campaign. Therefore, the Arizona law, which fits Arizona, needs to be looked at carefully. There's a provision in there that standardizes law enforcement so there are not sanctuary cities. And the way they standardize that is they require all law enforcement agencies upon arrest, and this is a second section of the law, upon arrest to inquire into immigration status and report illegals to the immigration services. I support that provision. I think we need to apply that with training to local law enforcement officers, and that will avoid sanctuary status and avoid New Mexico becoming a magnet.
Thank you, Pete. And now, Alan Wade.
There's no question that the border and public safety are issues of importance and relevance. Border security is national security as opposed to immigration policy. We've absolutely got to have a border that we know who crosses it and when. And my idea of a secure border is a border so tight you know when an ant crosses it. I can assure you that we will do what's necessary to help the federal agencies that are currently deployed along our southern border accomplish that. We have to do other things, of course. We have to strengthen our public safety infrastructure. We have to stop the practice of giving illegals driver's licenses in this state. The Arizona law sent a signal to the United States that there's a problem along the border. We don't necessarily need that here. We simply need to enforce all the laws that are on our books.
Thank you, Alan. And now, Doug will have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
I think New Mexico already is a magnet, and the short version of what Arizona is trying to do in its law is making being in the United States illegally illegal. That is a simple fundamental truth of the law, and I think certainly we appreciate that here in New Mexico. We have to stop the practice of giving driver's license to illegal aliens, but we have to have a consistent national policy that our federal government enforces. And I, as governor, will work with the federal government to make sure that happens.
Thank you, Doug. And now let's move to the fourth question, which will go to Susanna Martinez first. With unemployment almost at 10% statewide, what will your plan be to bring economic prosperity to New Mexico?
You know, the very first policy that we have to impose here is going to be that we become more competitive with our surrounding states. The corruption is still key. Pay to play is still key in our state. The reason for that is that there's no predictability for businesses to want to come to New Mexico. We have to put our people back to work. But the first thing we're going to do is reduce the size of government to make sure we are only providing that which is necessary in services. And second, long-term plan is to make sure that we readjust and change the tax policy and systems that are in our state. You know, in our surrounding states, they pay less taxes. They make it easier to do business there. They don't want to come to New Mexico because of pay to play. They don't want to come to New Mexico because our tax system is so overbearing. We must make sure that we decrease the size of our government and increase the size of our economy, and you will have, once again, no greater partner than me as your governor to make sure we create small businesses or create jobs by our small businesses. They come back here to New Mexico to live and raise their children.
Thank you, Susanna. And now, Janice Arnold-Jones.
You know, state government does not create jobs, but it certainly can enable the environment so jobs can flourish and businesses can flourish. So the first order of business has to be making sure small businesses can meet the needs of our citizens. And that means we'll have to do several things. First and foremost, the corruption. You know, if you have to pay off a government official to get your permit, or if permits are slow-rolled for some reason other than the purpose of the business, it costs business money, sometimes to the point of sapping all of their capital, making us, yet again, not competitive. Our regulations are enforced in a way that is spotty and unpredictable, but at the same time, our tax code has gone from low, broad, fair, equitable, easy to administer, to increasingly narrow, and fewer people are paying more of the taxes. These are the basic rules that will make sure that our small businesses will step up to the plate and serve the citizens of New Mexico.
Thank you, Janice. And now, Pete Domenici Jr.
Economic prosperity will come first and foremost with an end to corruption and not only the practice but the image of corruption that is endemic to New Mexico. Once we end that, and when we end that, and as governor I will end that, we need to become competitive. To do that, we need to focus the state resources on basic infrastructure, not high-risk, self-serving ventures. Basic infrastructure means roads, energy, communications. Those types of facilities are what people are looking for when they come to this state. Then they want to know they will have fair, predictable, competitive regulations and a smaller government. If we do all of those and end corruption, businesses will stop passing over New Mexico, will take a hard look, will like what they see, and we will develop jobs in our state.
Thank you, Pete. And now, Alan Way.
We're going to end the corruption in our state, and at the same time we're going to be setting forth on some initiatives that will help turn our economy around. We're going to eliminate irrational regulations, and we're going to do it quickly. Then I'm going to put an open for business sign out in this state, and we're going to tell people, you're going to have predictable regulations. You're going to have the ability to put capital investment into the state and know that you're going to get a return on your investment. We're going to redirect economic development resources, and we're going to redirect some of them towards small businesses and businesses that exist in New Mexico rather than spending all our efforts trying to get companies from out of state. We're not going to cease that, but we're going to help our small businesses that are here. We're going to establish an Office of Business Liaison under the Office of the Governor so that people who are getting blowback have a way they can cut through the red tape. And we're going to lower the cost of doing business in New Mexico. And I'm going to become the Chief Marketing Officer for this state.
Thank you, Alan. And now, Doug Turner.
I'm not sure. In fact, I'm fairly certain corruption is a new phenomenon in New Mexico. In fact, we're all familiar with the fact that we've had this in the state for a very long time. The challenge is getting an honest person in office to clean that up, and I think that any one of us can do that. But what we have had in New Mexico is the idea that creating government jobs is job creation, and I think that exactly the opposite. I think we have to put our energy into promoting small enterprises and the small businesses that create most of the jobs in New Mexico. That means having a better regulatory environment. It means having tax benefits that accrue to large companies that we try and attract to New Mexico also accrue to small enterprises. It's the small businesses, the people who live here in New Mexico, not because it's a great place to do business, but because it's a great place to live, that will bring jobs back to New Mexico. And I intend, as a small business person, to make this state a great place to do business.
Thank you, Doug. And now Susana Martinez will have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
The Richardson Dennis administration has grown our government by over 50%, with 5,400 new jobs. It's government jobs that have been created, not private sector jobs. That has to change. We must cut back on the number of jobs, particularly those that are currently funded but are vacant, and that's over 3,200 jobs that exist. We must make sure also to embrace our energy-rich state so that we can move forward and grow our economy so that we can turn New Mexico around. And I'm committed to doing that for you as your next governor.
Thank you, Susana, and thank you, candidates. And now our fifth question will be first directed to Janice Arnold-Jones. What do you perceive as corruption in New Mexico, and what will you do to stop it?
You know, I don't just perceive it, I get to see it. And the saddest thing that has happened in our state is businesses that have wanted to relocate to our state and state employees, state officers, asking them for money to do their job. It has to stop. It simply has to stop. But when I look at corruption, you know, corruption comes in many different layers. Sometimes there are pieces of legislation that goes through the legislature and it is carved out in such a way that it can possibly serve only one entity, one business. From the get-go, if we are not attempting to serve all of the citizens, is that corrupt? Is it unethical? I believe that that is the case. And I believe that New Mexico will be better off with a level playing field where everyone has equal access to the resources, but also the opportunities of the state.
Thank you, Janice. And now Pete Domenici, Jr.
I perceive corruption as top-down governance from directly from the governor's office, which is what we've seen for the last 8 years. Through the use of political appointees embedded throughout state government, decisions are micromanaged and based on political connections, political objectives of the governor, rather than even-handed decisions of the appropriate level of state government or the state official making those decisions. To avoid that, we need to delegate and let our state officials, state employees, take care of the work they're hired to do. They don't need to look over their shoulder to the political appointee to make sure that the person they're doing business with is approved by the governor's office, has done what they need with respect to contributions or connections. Rather, they need to be even-handed, across the board, and predictable.
Thank you, Pete. And now Alan Wade.
Ending corruption starts at the top, starts with the governor. We all know that. And then the governor holds people to account. Everybody that he appoints and everybody he appoints holds everybody who works for him to account. We're going to publish standards we expect. I'm sure there's standards up there. They just haven't been read or published recently, I'm sure. But the fact is, we're going to publish standards so that people know what we expect, and then we're going to hold them to account. If it's something as simple as poor judgment, they'll get a reprimand. If it's conflict of interest, they'll be terminated. If it reaches the level of a criminal indictment, they'll be prosecuted. And soon people will realize that we won't expect anything but the standards of conduct that the public expects of its public employees. We're going to improve contracting procedures, and we're going to bring transparency and sunlight to the entire process of government. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And now, Doug Turner.
You know, I think corruption in New Mexico is far more than pay to play, far more than paying third-party placement fees for investments, far more than, government officials embezzling money. Corruption in New Mexico is at every level of government, and that's because our government itself is corrupted. Our educational system is corrupted. It wastes billions of dollars and fails to educate our kids. Our government as a whole is corrupted. It hires people, thousands of them, and expects taxpayers to foot the bill. And these are simple things. These are things that can be solved by a governor who is interested and committed to honesty. We have seen it before under our previous Republican administration. We have not had to rely on the Attorney General of New York to investigate New Mexico and do the job of the Attorney General of New Mexico because we had honest people in office. And it starts there. You have an honest governor who appoints honest people and doesn't tolerate any appearance of impropriety across the board.
Thank you, Doug. And now, Susana Martinez.
You know, a fine example of what we have experienced as corruption is Manny Aragon. He stole from the taxpayers. There were millions of dollars stolen during that project. And what did we do? The Democrats threw a party for him. They threw a party for him and celebrated a thief. That's pay to play, and that's an attitude of accepting his behavior. And as governor, we set a new tone, that is not to be accepted. If you see it, you report it, you encourage it, and you participate in providing whatever records are necessary to make sure that those people are held accountable. I have a proven record of holding people accountable when they are corrupt. A municipal judge in Sunland Park who didn't even live in our state but ran for office was elected, then prosecuted and removed from office, and a county clerk who also violated the election code. I have a proven record of making sure that corrupt officials are removed from office or reported to the proper authorities, and I will do that every day as your next governor.
Thank you, Susana, and thank you, candidates. And now Janice Arnold-Jones has 30 seconds for rebuttal.
I was in northern New Mexico just yesterday, and 3 separate businesses brought up the very same issue regarding the Construction Industries Division, also known as CID. And what was troubling about my meetings with them is every single one of them said, we tried to see the governor, but their staff said, for $4,000, it will get you 10 minutes. I'm here to tell you that that is unacceptable. As governor, my door is open. You do not have to pay anything. You're a citizen. You have that right.
Thank you, Janice, and thank you, candidates. We've now moved to the portion of the debate for closing statements, and we will follow the reverse order of opening statements. So, closing statements, the first up will be Representative Janice Arnold-Jones.
Again, thank you for having this. This is a terrific public service. I am running for governor because it is time to make some changes in the state of New Mexico. This is an absolutely vibrant, wonderful state. But it is time to move on from pay to play. It is time to limit entitlements and eliminate phantom employees. It's time to have taxes and regulations that are fair, but also that predictable and reasonable. It is time to have an educational system where not only do the teachers succeed, but the children succeed because the teachers are succeeding. It is time to do all of those things and more. But first and foremost, we have to change our mindset. This is a government for the people. It is supposed to be a service, and let me tell you, we're not going to be able to do everything. You know, I'm actually pretty happy. Not in the positive way, that happy that our state is broke, but because we are broke, this is the time, this is the opportunity in our state's history to set some priorities, to decide what is important for our state. I am offering to you that our economy has to be looked at. We have to create those opportunities for businesses to grow. We need a private sector. We need to deal with education. Ethics, you have heard nothing but ethics this morning, but there is a positive side. We are an energy-rich state, and we should be the largest exporter of energy in the nation. To get there, we will have to make some very interesting, significant choices, not the least of which is to build out the infrastructure necessary to get our energy to market. Our state deserves this. We have lived in the state of potential since I have lived here in 1963. It is time to move on to the state of success, to the state of prosperity. New Mexicans deserve nothing less.
Thank you, Janice. And now, Susana Martinez.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking for your support and your vote, and this is why. We need to change the tone, set a new tone in Santa Fe, a tone of accountability. We must make sure that we get rid of what isn't working. And right now, that's the Richardson-Denish administration. Diane Denish hasn't said a single word about corruption in 7.5 years. She has not held a single person accountable. In fact, there hasn't been a thought in reference to corruption until she started to run for office. And that is unacceptable. I have fought corruption in several aspects throughout my career. As a prosecutor, I am proud to have held corrupt officials accountable. I have prosecuted an individual who voted in both Texas and New Mexico during the very same election. That person was prosecuted and convicted. It's important that we take those individuals to task. But I'm also a fighter for what's right. I fight for kids. I fight for children who have been abused, children who have been killed. I fight for what's right even if I have to stand alone. I make my decisions based on facts and evidence. I make sure that I can stand behind those decisions. I understand the power behind being the district attorney and governor. I understand what it's going to take to change and turn this economy around. I am not afraid to do that. I want to be your next governor so that we are no longer the pay-to-play state in the United States. We are no longer a state where businesses don't want to come to New Mexico. I have been held accountable as district attorney, and I am proud of that. I also want you as New Mexicans to hold me accountable, to make sure that I bring something very different from what you have experienced under the Richardson-Dennis administration. And that is corruption. That is pay to play.
Thank you, Susanna. And now, Doug Turner.
You know, I think we all know what the problems are in this state. They're on the front pages of the newspaper every day. We hear candidates talking about them all the time: corruption, bad economy, no jobs, poor education. Well, I'm an optimist. You know, I'm the kind of person who started a business from nothing and have succeeded. And I believe that we have an amazing future in this state. I don't think there's another state in this country with the resources that we have. And so I believe it is possible to educate our children. I believe it is possible to reward great teachers for great work. I believe it is possible to create jobs and grow small businesses. I believe it's possible to lower taxes on business and be competitive in this state. I believe it's possible to reduce corruption and have a government that is transparent and smaller. All of these things are possible. But you know what? You don't actually have to be running for governor or even be governor to take action, which is how I've lived my life. I've been an advocate for charter schools and school vouchers for years. Only a few weeks ago, I sued Governor Richardson on my own. I paid $132 and sued him to stop his attempt to initiate a cap-and-trade bill in this state. We can take action now as citizens, and I urge you all to get out of your seats and do something about it now. This is an amazing election cycle. You know, Ronald Reagan said it best when he said, "Much is asked of those who are chosen to lead, but much more is asked of those who are doing the choosing." And that's all of you who are watching this show tonight. So again, this is an exciting year. We have exciting candidates, and Republicans elect mavericks. Republicans elect outsiders, people who have not been part of the process, people who have not been elected, people who have not worked in state government. Because to do this job right, you need an outsider who's prepared to stand up and do what needs doing. And that's probably going to make a lot of people angry, and I'm perfectly happy to do it. I ask for your support, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Doug. And now, Alan Wade.
I'm Alan Way. I'm running for governor to clean up New Mexico and get our economy going and fix all the other things that need fixing. I mentioned earlier I'm a retired Marine. I come to politics late in life, but I've got time for one more tour of duty. I intend to serve this state to the best of my ability if you elect me. I'm going to take with me the 4 principles that I built a successful corporation. First, it was public service. You took care of the public, customer service. I surrounded myself by smart people. You can't build things by yourself. I knew how to budget. I grew a company organically. I didn't over-leverage the company. I spent what we made, and I grew it when we had profits into additional services and service lines and people. And fourthly, I was accountable. I was accountable to my customers, I was accountable to my suppliers, and I was accountable to my employees. Because employees won't work in a place that isn't run with integrity and competence. They'll vote with their feet. Those 4 principles of building a business are applicable to transforming government, and I intend to do that. I have a vision, and when I leave, if I'm your governor, you got to leave something behind. A vibrant economy and a broader private sector, improved education, K through the university level, better public safety, and a secure border. I respectfully ask you for your support. I respectfully ask you for your vote. Join our coalition of the willing. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And now, Pete Domenici Jr.
I'm Pete Domenici Jr., and I ask for your support. I will take care of the interests of New Mexicans. We have an opportunity to get rid of an entire level of state government, this embedded level of corruption that other states don't have, that put us at a competitive disadvantage, create an image that is harmful to all New Mexicans, needs to be eliminated diligently, thoroughly by the next governor. If we do that, we have an opportunity to become a business-friendly state, diversify our economy, correct our education system, focus our education on students. We tried to fix the teachers 5 years ago. Now we need to fix our education for the students. If we can do all of that, I think we will be on 2 paths during this next legislative session. Fixing the mess behind us and moving the state forward. Moving the state forward with a smaller, efficient, level, fair state government that will make us competitive, and I want to encourage our cities and our people to become business friendly. I want our state to understand we won't survive financially and from an infrastructure standpoint unless we have broad-based support for business in this state. So we need to encourage that mindset and get out of the mindset that government will take care of you, get rid of the level of corruption that pervades all of our state, become business friendly, and move forward. That's my vision, looking forward for the state of New Mexico. I request your support. God bless you.
Thank you, Pete, and thank you, candidates. Well, our time is up. This brings the debate to a close. On behalf of Comcast Spotlight, I'm Marco Gonzalez, and I'd like to say thank you to all the candidates for taking time today to discuss the issues. And thank you to you, the viewer, for taking the time today to learn what each candidate is about. We hope you all will participate in the primary elections on Tuesday, June 1st. We wish all the candidates the very best. Thank you, and good night.
On behalf of Comcast and Comcast Spotlight, thank you for watching the 2010 Republican Governors Forum. Please remember to vote on Tuesday, June 1st, 2010.